I started thinking about the garden, and it feels a little strange to be doing that given that there's 5 to 8 inches of snow coming down on the ground today, but it's about time that we start planning and getting some things ready to go. I've started seeing that seeds order services, mail order services, are going to be short on their supply this year, so I thought maybe I'd share some information about what I do to get ready for the garden season and help everybody get prepared. Step one for me is always to take a look at 2 things. One, what do I want to grow? What are we going to eat for fresh eating? What do I want to can or freeze and have preserved? What might we want to share with friends or family? Or I always like to try something new in the garden if I can, new experiment. So add something to the list that's maybe fun, something to enjoy for the season, look forward to doing instead of the same old thing. The second part that I always take a look at is what space do I have and where am I going to put things? Now I have an established garden space, but maybe you're implementing a new garden space, maybe you're expanding. It's important to know that because if you're anything like me, your list of what you want to grow a lot of times is bigger than what you have room for. So it's important to know that so you don't go gather a bunch of seed or plants and get started and then find you don't have space to put everything. The next thing I do after I have my space determined and I have my list put together is to combine those 2 things. And I start designing. Usually I use a little graph paper, map out what my measurements are for my garden space and implement the list of the priority things that I want to do, make sure I have those and have enough room for those plants, and then fill in everything else that's around there. A lot of times if I have too many things I want to grow, I'll look at other options like containers or maybe sneak something into the landscape, something like that, where you can fit in everything on your list. But it's time to start designing and planning out to make sure you have space for everything. Once you know what you're going to plant and where you're going to put it, then it's time to gather your seeds. You can do a lot of different options for seeds. Maybe you have some left over from last year, and as you'll see, I have a wide array of things where I didn't use a full packet, so I have a seed from maybe the 2019 or even 2020 season, and that's okay. There is a way to test your germination rate so that you don't have a garden full of unsprouted seeds, and we can show you that. We're going to wet the paper towel and make sure that it's damp, so get rid of any excess moisture, but you want it to have enough moisture to wet the seed fully. And going to take our seed, this is seed I had from last year left over, so I want to see if it's still viable. Count out 10 seeds. 10 just makes it easy to determine what your germination rate is. And we'll place those on the paper towel, fold it over so that there's moisture surrounding the seed, and put it in the Ziploc bag to essentially act like a greenhouse. We place this in a window that gets good sunlight and can get some warmth. I happen to have a grow light going, so I placed mine underneath the grow light, and you should see sprouts within a few days. In my case, I was able to get all 10 of my seeds to sprout. So I have very viable seed to use. The fewer seeds to sprout, the less your germination rate is, and you're going to want to either buy new seed or you're going to want to double plant your seed to ensure more possibility that you'll get growth. You can get seeds from big box stores. Any of your local Lowe's, Home Depot, even Walmart or Target are gonna have seed options, especially this time of year. And there's a wide array of things that you can get there. Organic options, non-GMO, lots of things that you can choose from. There's absolutely nothing wrong with buying seeds from those sources. It's all dependent on where you want to get your seeds. If you prefer to buy local greenhouses or growers might have options available for you. And that's gonna be something that you can usually go in and talk to somebody about, how to put it together, the garden that you want with the seeds that they have available. They might have some good advice for you, so that's a great option. And finally, an option that I have used in the past quite a bit is a mail order option. If you've seen any of our other videos on seed starting, you'll know that I've used seed from Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds. One of the things that I really like about them, they're a family-owned company, local Midwest company, so I feel like I'm supporting something good there. I also like the idea that they specialize in seed production, so their seed is going to be stored properly, and it's going to be a wide variety of options for different plants. You might have 50 to 100 different types of tomatoes that you can order. If you aren't into that, you can certainly get your seed at any one of those other sources. The thing is, if you are going to do mail order seed, it's important you start thinking about that now because they're getting inundated with seed orders. I even saw some that are shutting down for a few days just to keep up with the volume. And so make sure you get your seed orders in soon so that you're not disappointed and your seeds don't arrive late. Once you have all of your seed collected, the next really big step is to look through all of it and determine what seeds need to be sprouted inside, what needs to be direct sowed into the garden, and how much time do you need for germination. Because if you start your seed too early, you're going to run into leggy stems on your sprouts, things that aren't gonna survive exterior conditions once you put them into the ground. Or even root compaction, where the roots are just too big for your seed trays, and then you'll start transplanting into bigger and bigger pots while you're waiting for your soil to be ready for them for transplant. You wanna make sure you're allowing just enough time. On the other end of it, if you plant too late, you seed tomatoes right into your garden, especially in our climate, they'll never hit maturity in time for me to harvest fruit and to actually enjoy the plant and the fruit from the plant. So just be cautious of the seed starting requirements for your particular choices and make sure that you have enough time planned and that you're spot on in that window. The last thing then is to look at what items do I need to gather. Not only do you need your seed, but if you are gonna start seeds indoors, you might need grow lights, you might need seed trays, you're going to need some kind of soil to put them in and make sure that you have the right fertilizer to get them started. The other side of that is if you are going to do any kind of sheet composting or what I call lasagna gardening, then you're gonna wanna start collecting your materials. You have lots of options for carbon sources and nitrogen sources, and we've done a video on that before with some tips on that, but I start collecting my newspapers and everything now so that I have plenty of them to cover the space that I want when we get out for the season. Now, I did do a layer down in fall. I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to do that before the snow fell. Right now, I'm not gonna go out and put my layers down even as I'm collecting them because there's 2 feet of snow on my garden, and I could do that, and as the snow melts, everything will settle, but it might not settle in the place that I want it to. So I'm gonna wait for everything to kind of melt out there a little bit, and then I'll go out and I'll start putting my materials down well before I'm putting seeds or plants into the ground if I can, but you can also direct sow into your compost materials. And again, that's in that video that we did last year. I think that's about the steps that I would cover right now. I've taken care of making my list. Of course, it's a little hard to think that I still have to wait another 8 to 12 weeks before I actually get to put my hands in the dirt, but hopefully you're getting your garden plans going and excited to get started for the year. Thanks so much for watching this video, and we'll see you next time.